morning. It's the beginning of a new week. Welcome to Business Morning. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. Well, let's start off with what's on the business calendar for this week. Our Central Securities Clearance System PLC is scheduled to hold its annual general meeting today in Lagos. Also today, Chemicals and Allied Products PLC will be marked by the NSE having declared a dividend of 2 naira 5 kobo in the preceding week. On Tuesday, May 29, that's Democracy Day, the TechPoint-inspired conference and the Kedari Foundation panel discussion on accountability, a success booster in the workplace, will take place in Lagos. On Wednesday, May 30, the Deep Solution Africa Mining Exhibition and Award is scheduled to commence in Lagos, while the Bank Kabi meetup with its chief economist, Dr. Andrew S. Nevin, and CEO Kanle takes place in Lagos. Now, the Home Advantage Africa Conference with the theme Africa for Africans is also scheduled to hold in Abuja, while International Breweries PLC annual general meeting will hold in Imo State. On Thursday, May 31, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, May and Baker Nigeria PLC, and the Tourist Company of Nigeria PLC are scheduled to hold their annual general meetings in Lagos. The Nigerian American Chamber of Commerce Leadership Development and Team Building Training will also take place on this day in Lagos. The Future Project will also host the Nigerian Symposium for Young and Emerging Leaders on the same day. And the Institute of Directors Advocacy Roundtable Program on Infrastructure will take place on that day in Lagos with the theme Filling the Infrastructure Gap. And on Friday, June 1, the 5th edition of the Nigerian Stock Exchange London Stock Exchange Dual Listing Conference will take place in Lagos. Also on that day, AMCON will release its audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2017. Well, that's pretty much how the week looks like in the world of business. Let's move on now. One sector that seems not to be getting much attention is the health insurance sector. Now, the 2017 World Health Organization estimates that about 11% of the world's population spent over 10% of their annual income on medical-related expenses, while about 100 million people were pushed into poverty after incurring huge medical expenditure in 2017. Augusto & Co. reports that the situation in Nigeria isn't particularly impressive, with enrollment to health insurance schemes at a disturbing low of 5.1% of the population. That's based on the company's estimate. Consequently, an estimated 83% of Nigerians pay for health care out of pocket, which represents a major drag on disposable income of most Nigerian families. Despite the significant benefits of health insurance, which has been proven globally as the most efficient means to ring-fence medical expenses, the industry performance has remained lethargic in Nigeria. Augusto & Co. did a research on this to establish why the slow growth of this industry. I'm now being joined on the program by an analyst at Augusto & Co., Chuks Onyemachi. Thank you very much for joining us on the program, Chuks. So tell me, what informed this report by Augusto?
Well, Augusto & Co. is Nigeria's foremost research agency, and particularly we are very interested in any opportunity to show light on issues that are elusive in Nigeria's economy. So for us, it's value add to Nigeria. So we looked at the health insurance industry in Nigeria, and we were bothered because all over the world, people have come to appreciate the benefit of health insurance. Now in the UK, they have universal health coverage, so anybody can fall sick and go to the hospital and receive treatment. Nigeria, if you fall sick and you don't have a health plan from your organization, then you're most likely going to pay out of your pocket. Now, we, as an organization, we wanted to know what has been that elusive issue, why the penetration rate of insurance in Nigeria has been so low. So that's what informed our decision to go into researching that industry.
And what were your findings?
Well, the first one we looked about is the estimate that only about 5.1% of Nigeria's population have health insurance cover. Now, that 5.1% is actually very generous because we had to factor in the spouses and children of people that are already covered. if we were to look at it from the point of those who are enlisted on their own right, then it will come to a very, very low of about 3%. Now, in a country with a population that is conservatively estimated to be 186 million people, 5.1% come to 9.4 million. That is disturbingly low. So from us, we feel that it's a wake-up call for both government and a wake-up call for industry operators to look for how we can break this industry and penetrate Nigeria and see that we can grow coverage. Now, in 2005, when the scheme was being inaugurated by President Olusegun Obasanjo, we had a target. Yes, the NHIS scheme was inaugurated. Yeah. Now, the act itself was enacted in 1999, but between 1999 to 2005, we had very little activity until it was inaugurated in 2005. Now, it will interest you to know that in 2005, we actually set a target for ourselves to attain universal health coverage by 2015. We're in 2016. Now, that target has now been moved to 2025, and we're at 5.1%. What that tells us is that we may not even get universal health coverage by 2025, especially when we are growing at the lethargic rate we are growing.
So what are the key challenges there? Why do you think the rate of growth is this low?
Okay. Now, first of all, Nigerians have this apathy for insurance, not just health insurance, even car insurance and other forms of insurance. Mostly because of maybe our belief that if you insure something, you're hoping for bad thing to come to you. So we have that challenge on the one hand. Then the other challenge we also have is the industry itself, the way it is structured. There's this regulatory ambiguity in the sense that the definition of the role of the regulator and the definition of the role of HMOs, that hasn't been clearly defined. So you tend to see activities of the regulator tend to be in competition with the activity of HMOs. Another issue is low confidence on the part of those who have even enrolled into the scheme. Now, I believe you have health insurance, and I believe you may have used it once in a while. Now, 9 out of every 10 people that have health insurance will tell you that my health HMO does not cover all that I want to be covered. When I go to the hospital, I still pay. Now, the reason why we have that high level of frustration among enrollees is because of when people buy plans, they don't really get a full picture of what they are buying. Now, if I purchase a basic health cover, and that basic health cover probably covers me for a minor operation of 100,000. So what that means is that if I go to the hospital and I have to pay for an operation that is 200,000, so I will have to pay the remaining 100,000 out of pocket. Now, these things are not fully explained to people when they buy the plans. So when they now go to the hospital and they're told, look, you have to pay 100,000 in addition, they'll be like, no, but I have health insurance cover. So that is a source of frustration, and such a person may not renew his or her plan if it is up to the person.